Hello again, everyone. Edwin Leonard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about Mars transiting the ninth house in a natal chart. Now, on average, if your house size is average, say it's 30 degrees, Mars will transit your house for approximately 2 months, but that is only if Mars is only in direct motion during that transit. However, if your house size is larger and or Mars is in retrograde motion at any point during the transit, then it will traverse the house for a longer period. Well, anyway, people, first thing I'll look at when Mars transits your natal ninth house, this could be a time where you're a lot more assertive and aggressive in matters perhaps connected with higher education, maybe with in-laws even. If you have grandchildren, then perhaps with them as well. Maybe just doing different things with them, for example, more activity with them. It could also be a time where the situation, perhaps if you have in-laws, might be a little bit more acrimonious than usual, a little bit more combative. You might find that your in-laws might be acting a little bit more aggressive than usual, a little bit more outspoken and forthright, and you might be acting perhaps the same way with them. This could be a time where you may deviate from the monotony, so to speak, and you may embark on doing different things, maybe new projects. It could be a time where you like to go outside the box, expand your horizons, do something different. It could be a time where maybe you might even start to do something maybe connected with higher education. You might take a new college course and maybe even learn a new just might be learning a new subject. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to go to a college or university to start learning a new subject there as far as a college course, but you might even go online and start Googling about different subjects that maybe you're not really that cognizant of and you want to learn about. Now, this could be a time also where maybe if you have grandchildren, because the ninth house is associated with grandchildren, if they're of a certain age, if they're young adults or what have you, maybe there could be some contentious times with them. Perhaps there might be some acrimonious experiences or just general more disputatious situations. There might be more arguments and more quarrels with them. You might see them as being a little bit more assertive and more aggressive in their behavior than usual, or you might be more aggressive in your manner towards them a little bit more, and maybe they might see you as a little bit more combative. This could be a period where, and when I say combative, I'm meaning like verbally. And anyway, when you have Mars transiting your ninth house, it could also be a period where maybe you decide. Mars is about initiation and enterprise. So it could be a time where maybe you start the process of going on maybe some long journey, traveling abroad. It's also to be careful of that during this period. The ninth house is associated with philosophy. So when you look at philosophy, this could be a period where you had to be careful not to necessarily indoctrinate others with your beliefs. At least not overly in an overly forceful manner, because this could be a period where you might go a little bit overboard with your belief system and really try to convince others that you are right and they are wrong. And it's important to keep an open mind during this period and make sure you're listening to other person's points of view and you're not overly dogmatic in your own viewpoints. So really, but that being said, this could be a time where you come across maybe as a little bit more jocular, more gregarious than usual. Keep in mind that this house does correspond with the zodiac sign Sagittarius. So this could be a time where you're a little bit more extroverted than usual. And looking at displacement, Mars transiting the ninth house, this could also be a period where you really want to have maybe you might be more connected with abstract thinking and philosophical outlook. Ninth house is also associated with religion. And it could be a time where if you're not currently in any church congregation, or you don't you don't have a particular place you belong to, and as far as from a religious standpoint, this is the time where you might join a new congregation. It could be a time where you're more outspoken regarding your religious beliefs. Maybe this is a period where you actually might take up a new religion. So those are some things to look at as far as the Mars transiting the ninth house goes. Well, anyway, it's also important to look at the sign that Mars is in for whether it's the majority or the whole time of the transit to the ninth house, as this could flavor the transit. Now, let's say, for example, that Mars is in Leo for either the majority of the transit to the ninth house or the whole time of the transit. Now, this could indicate that you may take a lot of pride and dignity with your actions, and being in the ninth house, this could be associated perhaps with activities connected with in-laws and grandchildren. It could also indicate that you have take a lot of pride perhaps in your religious and philosophical beliefs as well, and you might share them magnanimously with others, so to speak, be very generous in them. Now, let's take another example. Let's say that Mars is in Virgo for either the majority or the whole time of the transit to the ninth house. Well, this could indicate that you put a lot of energy into being very industrious, hardworking, and in being very scrupulous. Now, being given the fact that it's in the ninth house, it could indicate that these might be connected with matters pertaining to religion, to in-laws, and perhaps even to grandchildren as well. So, anyway, it's also important to look at the aspects that are made to your natal planets and points by this transit of Mars in the ninth house, as this could impact the transit. Now, let's say, for example, that transiting Mars is making a square in conjunct or opposition to your natal sun. Well, this could indicate you may have a surfeit or even strong overabundance of energy in this period, and you might be a little bit more quarrelsome at this time of this aspect, which might cause some exasperation. And being in the ninth, this might be maybe connected, maybe perhaps with dealings with your in-laws, perhaps with grandchildren, and it might be maybe over having some different religious maybe conflict or something with somebody else, or philosophical. It could be maybe connected with that, maybe one way or the other, in some way. Maybe some argument or disputes might take place over religion or your philosophical beliefs and principles. Now, let's take another example. Let's say that transiting Mars is making a sextile or trine to your natal moon, and transiting Mars, of course, in the ninth house. Well, this might give a greater propensity to control your anger and your emotions. And being in the ninth, this could be tied in perhaps to philosophical discussions, religious discussions, or even dealings perhaps with your in-laws and or grandchildren during this time. Well, anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for Mars transiting the ninth house in a natal chart. And stay tuned next time, where I'll be dissertating and talking about Mars transiting the 10th house in a natal chart. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.